Hello, you're watching QPVN News. I'm Anh Tuấn and we keep you up to date with the headlines. Vietnam may allow civilians to join UN peacekeeping forces. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính received China HUADIAN Corporation's chairman. A historical landmark dedicated to President Ho Chi Minh in Milan. On May the 14th, during the night sitting of the 15th National Assembly, lawmakers reviewed a draft law on participation in United Nations peacekeeping operations. President Lương Cường attended the session. On behalf of the Prime Minister, General Phan Văn Giang, Minister of National Defense, presented the draft law. He emphasized that the legislation aims to institutionalize party guidelines, implement the 2013 Constitution, and establish a comprehensive legal framework aligned with the UN Charter and international treaties to which Vietnam is a signatory. The draft law outlines guiding principles, target participants, deployment formats and fields, force building, resource allocation, benefits and entitlements, international cooperation in peacekeeping, and the responsibilities of various agencies and organizations. A notable highlight of the draft law is the inclusion of civil servants and public employees as eligible participants in UN peacekeeping missions. This is expected to expand Vietnam's available human resources for peacekeeping and enhance the country's global standing. The government assigns the Ministry of National Defense and the Ministry of Public Security to directly command and manage their respective forces participating in UN peacekeeping operations. Ministries, agencies and localities will manage civilian personnel under their authority. The National Defense and Security Council decides on employment, extension, adjustment and withdrawal of armed forces, while the Prime Minister makes decisions regarding civilian participants. Chairman of the National Assembly's Committee for National Defense, Security and Foreign Affairs Lê Tấn Tới affirmed the necessity of the law. He praised the draft completeness but recommended further clarification on the political, legal and practical basis for including civil servants. He also emphasized the need to clearly define the role of the state president as commander-in-chief in relation to the deployment of peacekeeping forces. Additionally, some lawmakers called for more detailed provisions on the rights, benefits and support for personnel, especially women, engaged in peacekeeping operations, as well as those involved in training and management under various ministries and localities. Since 2014, Vietnam's participation in United Nations peacekeeping operations has mainly been governed by resolutions and ministerial circulars. The lack of an independent law has posed various challenges in organizing forces, carrying out missions and ensuring the protection of rights. Now, after more than a decade, Vietnamese peacekeepers are gradually being supported by a dedicated legal framework. This is not only recognition, but also a strong commitment from the party, the state and the army to those fulfilling these noble international missions. The bill on participation in UN peacekeeping operations has been developed in response to practical needs. For Vietnamese peacekeepers, it provides a solid legal foundation to devote themselves. For their families back home, it represents security and trust. This reflects the care and support from central agencies and commanders at all levels for peacekeepers, and it provides a great source of motivation for those of us currently serving at missions abroad. The development of this law has received broad support as it is not only a necessary step toward improving the legal framework, but also a recognition and protection of those who are carrying out missions for world peace. It also affirms Vietnam's international responsibility in the current period of deep integration. I fully support a separate law for peacekeeping forces. Having a dedicated law will make the processes of selection, training and protection of rights more transparent.
Yeah, I've seen the draft law on UN peacekeeping, and I think it's a great improvement and some great opportunities there for Vietnam to really make the whole process of deploying on UN peacekeeping operations so much smoother.
Law going hand in hand with peacekeeping missions ensures every step of a peacekeeper is taken with confidence to remain worthy of the trust and honor placed by the party, the state, the National Assembly, and the people on the troops. On May the 14th, at the government headquarters, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính received Mr. Pham Cang Ping, chairman of China HUADIAN Engineering Company Limited, or CHD in short. At the meeting, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính said that the Vietnamese government welcomes foreign enterprises, including Chinese ones, to expand investment and business activities in the country, particularly in areas aligned with sustainable development needs suited to China's strength and beneficial to both sides, including the energy sector. For his part, Mr. Pham said that the CHD, one of the world's 500 largest businesses for 13 consecutive years, has invested approximately $2.8 billion in power projects in Vietnam, with a total installed capacity of 1.5 GW. Pham proposed the Vietnamese government promptly complete investment policies for green energy projects. The Prime Minister welcomed its continued investment in green energy projects while encouraging the corporation to develop production, business, and research and development activities based on the principle of harmonizing benefits, sharing risk, and balancing interest between the state, people, and businesses. From May the 10th to the 14th, the Pacific Fleet of the Russian Federation Navy paid a friendly visit to Da Nang City. During their stay, the Russian naval officers and sailors led wreath at the Da Nang Heroes and Martyrs Memorial and paid courtesy calls on leaders of the Da Nang Municipal People's Committee, Naval Region 3 Command and Military Region 5 Command. They also joined exchanges with officers and soldiers of Naval Region 3, toured Da Nang scenic attractions, and conducted joint training exercises. The visit of Russian naval fleet to Da Nang City aimed to strengthen the traditional friendship and mutual trust, contributing to fostering the comprehensive strategic partnership between Vietnam and Russia. As part of the visit and exchange with the Chinese Navy, the delegation of the Vietnam People's Navy paid a courtesy call on the leadership of Guangzhou Base of the Chinese People's Liberation Army Navy. Both sides emphasized the significance of this visit in the context of the 75th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Vietnam and China this year. They believed that the visit of the Vietnam People's Navy's delegation aboard ships 286 Lê Quý Đôn would help promote cooperation and friendship between the naval forces of the two countries. During this occasion, the delegation also visited Missile Frigate 631 of the Chinese Navy and participated in sports exchanges. Coming up next, Vietnam participates in Select USA Investment Summit. A historical landmark dedicated to President Ho Chi Minh in Milan. On May the 14th, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in collaboration with the Republic of Korea Embassy in Vietnam, organized the Meet Korea 2025 conference to discuss measures to promote trade and investment between Vietnam and the Republic of Korea. This event marks the 10th anniversary of the signing of the Vietnam-Korea Free Trade Agreement. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs Bùi Thanh Sơn emphasized that the Vietnamese government highly appreciate the business activities and contributions of Korean enterprises in Vietnam. The government of Vietnam is committed to creating an open and transparent investment environment, facilitating foreign enterprises, including Korean ones, to invest stably and sustainably in Vietnam. At the conference, the participants mainly exchanged views on the promotion of cooperation and connection and exploitation of new opportunities for new outcomes in the relationship between Vietnam and Republic of Korea in a win-win spirit and for common prosperity. At the same time, the delegates also discussed the opportunities, challenges and measures to further exploit the momentum from the Vietnam Republic of Korea Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, promote Vietnam's new position and strength, and optimize the potentials and strengths of Vietnamese localities and Korean enterprises and seize opportunities in innovation and high-tech application and build sustainable value chains. Amid global economic fluctuations, a Vietnamese delegation led by Deputy Minister of Finance Cao Anh Tuấn, comprising over 130 members representing more than 100 Vietnamese enterprises across diverse sectors, attended the 2025 Select USA Investment Summit held from May the 11th to the 14th in the state of Maryland, the USA. The summit drew participation from over 100 countries. The Vietnamese delegation included reputable enterprises with strong ambitions to boost economic and investment ties with the U.S., including the Vietnam National Industry Energy Group, Vietnam Maritime Corporation, Vietnam National Coal and Mineral Industries Holding Corporation, Vietnam Rubber Group, and FPT Corporation, among others. The delegation took part in two key plenary sessions. The first facilitated direct engagement between business leaders and U.S. state regional economic development representatives. Discussions focused on the advantages of doing business in the country, including its favorable investment climate, skilled workforce, technological leadership, local partnerships, and incentives. According to Deputy Minister of Finance Cao Anh Tuấn, the visit and a series of bilateral meetings with U.S. partners underscore Vietnam's strong commitment to deepening trade and investment ties with the U.S., a comprehensive strategic partner and the world's leading economy. It is hard to say who was the first Vietnamese person to arrive in Italy, but one name is clearly recorded and honored by both nations as a pioneer in fostering friendships between the two peoples, President Ho Chi Minh. On the 135th anniversary of his birth, May the 19th, 1890, 2025, we visit Antica Trattoria della Pesa, the old way station tavern at number 10 Pasubio Street, Milan, where he lived and worked in the 1930s, having come from Paris to meet Communist International comrades and Italian friends. Nearly a century later, the space dedicated to Ho Chi Minh inside a tavern remains carefully preserved and vivid. A white stone plaque placed by the Milan city government in 1990 to mark the 100th anniversary of his birth still stands clearly. It reads, "This house was frequently visited by President Ho Chi Minh during his time abroad in the 1930s in the fight for his people's freedom." Inside is the Ho Chi Minh Room, featuring a bronze statue gifted by the Vietnamese government to Milan in 2012, along with photos and Vietnamese memorabilia. Vietnam is a heroic nation that defeated colonial and imperial forces under the leadership of President Ho Chi Minh, a remarkable international communist fighter. We often gather at this tavern to share memories of Vietnam and our admiration for Ho Chi Minh. Antica Trattoria della Pesa is a regular stop for Vietnamese delegations and visitors, as well as Italians and international friends who wish to learn more about Ho Chi Minh. From 6 a.m. on May the 14th, a sacred atmosphere lingered on Quán Sư Pagoda as thousands of people and Buddhist followers gathered to pay homage to the Buddha Sakyamuni relics and the national treasure of India. Many had arrived the night before, staying up all night in reverence. The line of people stretched around the pagoda's courtyard, moving slowly and silently to pay respect to the Buddha. The presence of the Buddha's relics at Quán Sư Pagoda is not only a major spiritual event, but also spreads a message of compassion, peace, and community solidarity. Regardless of age, occupation, and hometown, all of the participants shared a common homage to the Buddha. A sense of deep gratitude was reflected in their eyes and smiles for the opportunity to participate in the veneration rite. The Buddhist relic veneration event will last until the end of May the 16th at Guansu Pagoda, before the relics are moved to Damchuk Pagoda in Hanam. This is the end of the QPVN News today. Remember to watch our news again at qpvn.vn. Thank you for watching and goodbye for now.